Good afternoon. This is the Public Higher Education Study Committee meeting. Welcome, everyone. Do you want to introduce yourselves? Those few people here who don't know who we are.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, I'm Representative Maureen Mooney, representing Hillsborough County District 12, which encompasses the town of Merrimack.
Thank you. Senator Lang.
Senator Tim Lang, representing District 2, the Lakes Region.
You, sir?
Representative Wayne Burton, representing District 10 in Durham.
And I'm Senator Ruth Ward, chair of this committee, and represent Senate District 8. First order of business is to approval of the minutes from Friday, September 19th.
Move to approve as written and presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any changes, additions? Not? All of those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Now, we have a nice thing. We have a proclamation, and I will read it. This is from the governor. I'll put my glasses on here. The state of New Hampshire, by Your Excellency Kelly A. Ayotte, Governor, a proclamation. In the year of our Lord 2025, New Hampshire Community College System 80th anniversary, November 12, 2025. Whereas the New Hampshire Community College System has served as a cornerstone of opportunity, access, and excellence in public higher education for 80 years, and whereas CCNH consists of 7 colleges and 4 academic centers located throughout New Hampshire, providing true statewide reach and serving over 21,000 learners annually across diverse backgrounds and goals. And whereas CCSNH offers more than 200 associate degree and certificate programs aligned with workforce demands, transfer opportunities, and the needs of New Hampshire's evolving economy, supporting critical industries and local communities. And whereas all CCSNH colleges are accredited by the New England Commission of Higher Education, the same accrediting body as the state's 4-year colleges and universities, ensuring rigorous academic standards and strong student outcomes. And whereas in 2025, the New Hampshire Community College System was recognized as the top-ranked community college system in New England and one of the top 10 in the nation, a reflection of its dedicated faculty and staff, responsive programming, and student-focused admission. Now, therefore, I, Kelly Ayotte, Governor of the State of New Hampshire, do hereby proclaim November 12, 2025, as the New Hampshire Community College System 80th anniversary in the state of New Hampshire, and encourage all citizens to celebrate the enduring value, accessibility, and impact of our community colleges in building a stronger, more skilled New Hampshire. Signed by Governor Kelly A. Ayotte. Mr. Rubenstein, would you accept this one? There you go. It's always nice when you have positive things happening. Okay, review of the annual report, identifying ongoing work and collaboration between the university system of New Hampshire and the community college system of New Hampshire. Catherine Provencher, Chancellor, Mark Rubenstein, Chancellor. Would you like to come up?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Catherine Provencher. I serve as Chancellor of our state's university system. And I'd like to start first with congratulating Chancellor Rubenstein and the entire community college system on Governor Ayotte's proclamation. Well-deserved. And I know today is the 80th anniversary celebration for the Manchester Community College in Manchester this evening. So um, the report that was provided to the committee back on October 31st is required by statute as an outcome from Governor Sununu's task force on public higher education. Chancellor Rubenstein and I both sat on that commission, and the commission had a number of recommendations that it made. So this is the annual report required to be submitted to the committee, and a number of other committees. The Governor and Council were taking that on December 3rd. Senate Education and Finance Committees, as well as House Education and Finance Committees. I would like to just start my remarks with, the Chancellor and I have, I think you would agree, the Chancellor and I have a very successful, close, professional relationship. We spend quite a bit of time together, bounce ideas and initiatives off one another. I will say, though, that as we mentioned in the third paragraph on the cover letter, this work will be iterative. This work will be iterative. It will not stop the community college system and the university system. It's incumbent upon both systems to ensure we collaborate effectively for the future of our state. That said, it may not progress as quickly as the Chancellor and I, or maybe you, would like, because of resource constraints, because of bandwidth, because of changes happening at the university system and the community college system. Again, the work will not stop. It just may not progress as quickly as Mark and I would like. I don't know how, the Chancellor and I didn't practice our presentation, so I don't know if you want me to run through it, if you have any comments you'd like to make.
No, but for the record, Mark Rubenstein, privileged to serve as Chancellor of the Community College System. I'm grateful to Governor Ayotte and this body for conferring the proclamation for the community college system, and in full agreement with everything that Chancellor Provencher has said to this point.
One of the primary drivers, if I may, of the task force that Governor Sununu established really came out of House Bill 1530. And House Bill 1530, oh gee whiz, it might be 3 years ago now, 2 years ago anyway. That bill required that the two systems work closely together to develop meaningful transfer pathways between the community college system and the university system. We're now up to over 100 universal pathways. I think when I checked last week, it might be 130. And those pathways were determined based on workforce needs, based on student demand. And so those pathways track from a community college to any community college to any institution within the university system. And for last academic year, so that would have been fiscal 25, we saw a 30% increase in one academic year in community college students who had associate's degrees transferring to the university system. We saw an uptick also in the percentage of those students who graduate from the community college system and transfer anywhere. And I think it's because of the hard work, both on the part of those at the community college system and the university system. This wasn't, it's not easy work, but the provost at the university system and the vice presidents for academic affairs at each of the community college system continued to meet periodically, but there were a lot of folks really helping to build those bridges, work on student advising in both systems. So again, it's another example of the work isn't finished, but this is an area where I think we have had real success and will be more successful in the future. don't know if you want to add anything else.
Again, I'll reiterate everything Chancellor Provencher has said. I concur with. I'll add that the pathways between the community college system and the university system are only part of the bridge that we're building. Combination of the work we're doing with early college and work that we're doing with industry recognized credentials, trying to build a more seamless pathway from our high schools and particularly our CTEs through the two systems and into the workforce. And that will continue to grow, not just in one direction, but really sprawling as we try and find better ways to give people access to opportunity through education.
Go back and forth there.
Excuse me, another recommendation that was made by the report had to do with acceptance processes between the two systems. Make it easier for students at the community college system to apply to be admitted to the university system. And we've rolled out a direct admit program now. And so graduates from the community college system and for the upcoming graduation season next spring will be more timely. But we did reach out to community college system graduates. Community college system shared the information with the university system. We sent communications to all the graduates saying, you meet these GPA requirements, you're automatically accepted to the university system, and click here or text here. Our university system outreach and enrollment center is taking those calls and communications and following up so that folks knew it's easy, it's direct admit. If you've met these GPA requirements, you're in. So that's been successful as well. We'll get better at it as we go. What we'd like to try to do this year is get those communications out to students who have applied to graduate, right? Haven't necessarily graduated yet, to let them know that there's a direct admission. There's,
Do you want to interrupt him?
Well, I was just gonna say, we all got the report in advance. I know I read through it and I just had a couple questions. And
Oh, sure.
I don't know if we want to go point by point through the
Are
entire.
you ready for
report.
questions?
absolutely.
Okay, fine, go ahead.
Great. So I was excited. I had a great conversation with President Burks up in Plymouth and their 3-year program. And I'm interested in knowing, again, are we also working on that collaboration to make it so they can do 2 years in the community college system and one, finishing year, if you will, for lack of a better phrase, at the university system and walk out with a BS or something like that? Are we also pursuing that? Because apparently it's been fairly successful up at Plymouth. They had an increase in enrollment compared to some of the other colleges that had a different process. But I think that's part of their success. Is that so? I'm questioning whether or not we're also pursuing that idea of doing 2 years at the community college, 1 year at the university system, like you said, almost like a finishing year to get your BA, BS in whatever program. They have 5 defined at Plymouth right now. But I'm interested in knowing if you're looking at that, or you're pursuing that to try to streamline that, because again, it makes it very attractive for.
We are looking at that. I'm not sure it will turn out to be 2+1. Part of it is figuring out with these bachelor's degrees that are 3 years, where is the appropriate handoff between what the community college system offers and the concentrated academic program for the upper division courses offered by, in this case, Plymouth. But we are discussing now how to continue to build these pathways into those 3-year programs.
And this, Senator, if I could just, this past fall was the first foray into those 3-year degrees with very little marketing. So I think in total, we have 22 or 25 students. And you're right, that Plymouth had not necessarily because of the 3-year bachelor's, but Plymouth did have an uptick in enrollment compared to the other institutions this fall. So by all means, that will be part of the ongoing conversation. How do we make the pathways, again, looking at the curriculum, work for our students? We have to meet our students where they are between the community college system and the university system.
So I was thinking nursing, right? So we have, a 2-year degree and a 4-year degree in nursing, and again, streamlining that path to maybe make it so that you have your 2-year degree and then get those advanced classes that are necessary. The 4-year, BS in nursing, again, given the nursing shortage we have, being able to, and some of them have a requirement of a university system degree versus a community college degree. And streamlining that. Our schools are struggling with that, I know, with the 4-year, the 2-year versus 4-year. So that was one of the areas I was thinking about, our workforce and how we might be able to have a cooperative effort here to get people employed right away with a 2-year degree in nursing and then move right on to basically like a master's degree, for lack of a better phrase, in nursing, and get your 4-year degree in areas like that for industries that are struggling in the state.
Senator, if I may, that perhaps the very first pathway program between the community college system and the university system dates to 2013, I believe, and it was the RN to BSN program between the community college system and what was then Granite State College. The students in that program do the first 3 years through the community college system, year 4 offered through the university system, but at the community college system tuition rate. I don't know if we can necessarily shorten that program to 3 years just because of the intensive requirements of the bachelor's degree in nursing. I don't know if there's the latitude to bring that down to a 96 or 100 credit program, but we do have that pathway. In healthcare, there are some other areas where we are at least initially considering some 3-year bachelor's programs. Allied Dental Health currently only offered through NHTI, but an area of need for the state. That program has, although it leads to an associate degree, is effectively 3 years of instruction. Is there an opportunity for that to become a 3-year bachelor's degree? Similarly, radiologic technology, there's an opportunity there that we'll be exploring. So we are trying to figure out how to leverage the flexibility that these programs introduce to strengthen the workforce, make it more accessible, more affordable for students.
Representative Ladd?
Thank you. I'd first like to apologize for being here late. They must be in a different time zone over at One Granite Place than they are here at the Capitol. Clocks are different. But at any rate, this is maybe for Kathy. I've asked you this before, but when we're expanding this to the 100+ different pathways now, which we started with a far fewer than that, are we seeing students now that are choosing to go like Senator Lang just said, 2+1? And is that impacting your enrollment where we see students that would have come to the university system for freshman, sophomore years, and then go on for the other 2 at the same university, UNH maybe, or King Plymouth? Are we seeing them to opting for the other way of doing this? Maybe I'll take those 2 down below. And so how's that? And it may be early to understand or discern whether that's hitting our enrollment. I understand our enrollment projections for the university system are much lower than they've been in the past.
Thank you for the question, Representative. So first of all, I'm going to make a conjecture. I don't have data, but I don't believe that the 2+2 transfer pathways are negatively impacting the university system's enrollment. Our enrollment is declining for 3 primary reasons. There were fewer people born 18 to 22 years ago. So okay. There were fewer of that smaller pool, a lower percentage of those wants to pursue post-secondary, whether it be at the community, any level, right, of that traditional college age, and the intense competition that causes in the higher education space for that shrinking pool of students. That is why enrollment is declining. So I don't believe the transfer maybe is small, not enough for me to be concerned about, because this is, again, is an opportunity to meet students where they are and to get them where they want and need to be and to impact the workforce in a way that's best for them. So I don't worry that this is going to erode the university system's enrollment. And I may eat crow years from now, but I do not think that is that is impacting our enrollment negatively.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you both for being here. As I'm reading through the report, you're really hitting it out of the park. All of the major issues were there: dual enrollment, 3-year degree, the trades. Though I have to say, on number 9, on page 6, that wasn't as quite self-explanatory as the previous 8. So I'm just wondering if you could flesh out a little bit the ERP platform and how it exactly fits into the big picture of all these wonderful advancements that you're working on. Thank you.
So when the task force was seated and started doing its work, there are a number of recommendations in that report, both administrative, student-facing, efficiency-related. So this ERP recommendation had to do with look at whether or not the two systems should be on a similar technology platform for HR, finance, and student. And we're not. Because that could possibly result in efficiencies between the two systems. It could result in lower licensing costs. This, again, I don't have data on that. The university system, I'll be honest with you, it feels like it's been 20 years, but we have been on the path of standing up Workday as our ERP platform for the past, I think we've been on this for 3 years now, from planning and everything else. And we were on a Lucian Banner product, but that was an all-one instance. So we decided a number of years ago to go out to RFP. So it's costly. It's tens of millions of dollars over 5 to 6 years. And the community college system wasn't ready and didn't have the funding when we started going on that. So that's the background. I don't know. Well, I do know in the short term, the two systems will not be on the same platform. Do you think that's a safe assumption?
That's an entirely safe assumption. And I will say on a more positive note, as Chancellor Prevent said, the potential for efficiencies if both systems were sharing an enterprise system probably are there. But there are other tools that we're using in common, the learning management system, Canvas, for instance, so that students will have a more seamless, consistent experience. So the things that students interact with most, I don't want to suggest that this isn't important, but students use this for registration. So that is engagement. But in terms of what they actually interact with for their learning experience, that actually is a common platform. And there are other tools that we're using in common between the two systems that will help students navigate more efficiently between the two. So we don't yet have the opportunity to share an enterprise system, but I think that's more back of the house and less impacting students.
Representative Burton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Congratulations on the proclamation, well-deserved. In 1985-86, Bill Bushy, who was chair of the House Education Committee, put me in charge of the Voc Tech schools. And I remember chairing the meeting where the 7 presidents decided how to divvy up a pot of money among them for raises. And I had to file a bill in order to allow a faculty member at one campus to teach at another campus. It was really quite convoluted, and you've come a long, long way. My question is one about House Bill 112, which the chair knows about, that's likely to become law requiring students to pass the citizen test in order to graduate. I assume that if in the transfer process from the community college system to the 4-year system, that's when the student will have to pass that test. Otherwise, they won't have a diploma from the community college system to be able to go into the 4-year system. Is that correct?
That's my understanding of the bill as currently presented.
I have some reservations we had expressed in the committee yesterday about that. A 40-year-old person who's been a professional in one area all their life and then has to take the citizens exam, but we'll let that go. And that's all the questions I have. Again, congratulations.
Thank you. On behalf of the faculty and staff whose work is being recognized, we appreciate that. And over the course of 80 years, the impact that those colleagues have had on the state of New Hampshire, the lives of our students, we're grateful for the recognition. To your question, I think we all share a commitment to civic education. We think that that's a vital part of learning and an informed citizenship. So citizenry. So we think that that's valuable. The question I think you were posing before, there is some potential for this to be challenging for the implementation, for managing it, and that's something we're going to have to understand how to navigate.
Senator Lang?
Thank you for taking my question. So again, I want to go back to the ERP question. Again, the tens of millions of dollars being invested. If the long-term goal is to include the community college system at the end, are we making sure that there's some communication so where you have to make decisions, you are making decisions that has a long-term goal in place that if they're going to move there, which makes sense to me as someone who's implemented ERP before, that the system's it's going to ease your transition of students and everything else in the long run. So it makes sense, but the question is, are we making sure that we're staging the beginning with the idea we may end up here and not have to reinvent the system when the community college comes in?
Thank you for the question, Senator. So I'm not sure the community college system is coming in, or when that would happen, or how that would happen. As you know, that idea has been floated before and was not successful. So I'm not sure when that would happen. It's my understanding that these Workday systems, if we had another college, like Workday has different colleges in it, so we could add it, there could be another college added. That would be, it could technologically be done. It would require business processes to change. But again, it could be done. I don't know what that future looks like. So
If I may, Senator Lang, the university systems move to Workday as an opportunity for what are now 3 institutions to bring alignment to their business processes on a common enterprise system for those 3 institutions, which had not shared a common platform. Community college system currently is on the same platform, but we as 7 colleges have developed different business practices. So our current step is to try and bring alignment among our 7 colleges to a single set of business practices. At some point, if we were to move to a different enterprise system, having those 7 colleges operating in a consistent manner will facilitate that, whether it's to Workday or some other product. Our initial effort is to move from what is currently server-based on-prem solution to a cloud-based solution. That consistency will allow us to do that more efficiently, and it does set up a pathway for the future. But I'll reiterate that most of this is what happens behind the scenes. The things that students interface with primarily for learning are already common between the 2 systems, and I think we're continuing to make progress on that front.
Back to the 2+1. Are you saying, or can you say to me that the course content that I'm picking up on the community college system is the same as the first 2 years in the 4-year program? Are you using the same curriculum with the same content so that when you do switch over and you do that last 3rd year or whatever, that you have the same content and you have the same understanding of the classes and the
So what I'm actually saying is it relates to the 3-year programs. With 4-year programs, the first 2 years, which is typically what we've offered, align with the first 2 years that a student might receive if they were enrolled already at one of the USNH institutions. But with these new 3-year programs, the real question is what portion of that curriculum is actually going to be drawn from the first 2 years and what portion is going to be drawn from the last 2 years. It's not necessarily the first and second years plus the junior year of college. That 3rd year, what amounts to the 3-year program, has to capture enough of the content that normally would have been spread between the 3rd and 4th years of the bachelor's degree granting institution. So part of this is figuring out a new set of pathways that appropriately account for what the community college system offers in those first 2 years and what the university system delivers in the last 2 years, so that the 3 years collectively produce the appropriate learning outcomes.
Thank you. Any other questions? Senator Burton?
Thank you. Thank you for taking my question. As you know from the last meeting, I had proposed having special education for higher education. That bill is taking a month to write. I don't have it yet. But my question is, with 400 or 500 students at Manchester Community College on accommodations, if they transfer to a 4-year institution, do the accommodations transfer with them, or do they have to start all over again on a different plan?
Well, I would not propose to speak for the university system, but for any one of our institutions, we need to see the documentation from the student to determine appropriate accommodations. So I believe that each institution would be requesting whether the accommodations remain the same would be predicated on the documentation the students present.
Well, just a quick follow on,
Follow-up?
is the student assured that the same accommodations they had at the 2-year school will be followed at the 4-year school?
I'm not sure I can answer the question in the abstract. If a particular student with a specific set of documentation is receiving particular accommodations at Manchester Community College, bringing that same documentation to one of the USNH institutions, there's a counterpart at the USNH institution who needs to review that documentation and not simply move it over uniformly.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from committee members? No question for you either?
I do have a lot in my mind here, and I'd just like to go to the issue of the 3-year degree that Don has started up there at Plymouth State, which I think in leading to that direction, he did a lot of work with his staff, a lot of work with the surrounding community, and working with NECHI. So do we see the others, Keene and UNH, preparing or looking at this? It's a huge affordability issue for our students, and that we're really concerned about.
Well, yes, UNH, I think there are 2 or 3 programs UNH is considering and plans to bring something to NECHI in early calendar 26.
Right.
I think one of them was Vet Tech, right? They have the veterinary lab over in Durham, but there are 3. As of yet, Keene has not. But as you know, if maybe you don't all know, I'll let you know now. Plymouth State President Don Burks has been named as interim president of Keene State through this fiscal year. Our board voted on that a few weeks back. And so Don may very well bring more of that to Keene. I know he has been meeting with folks at Keene State as well as employers in the Monadnock region to understand what the needs are. So, and that we had to go to NECHI for. We have an innovation waiver application in because under accreditation standards, each institution needs a president. And so we've applied for an innovation waiver through NECHI to have one interim president over the 2 institutions.
I understand that. I wish them luck, seeing that the provosts have also changed recently over at Keene. But in pursuing this a little further here, the 3-year degree that Don has done, along with his cluster program, in terms of assessing what courses students are taking in relation to the number of staff he has, which has netted us some real significant data. Is that same process that, Don has initiated there going to be pursued at the other institutions within the university system?
Yes, I would say it in all likelihood won't look like a cluster model at
I understand that. I'm talking about the ratio
Absolutely,
of program to.
absolutely, the drilling into
Yeah.
both staff and faculty in relation to our student population and benchmarking against peers. Understanding that we fully expect that over time we will be smaller. As I mentioned, from your K-12 experience, there are fewer students in our K-12 system. So that means traditional college-age students, there'll be fewer. So as we get smaller, the variable costs and the fixed costs have to contract with that as well. So all of the campuses are looking at both administrative and faculty and direct student staffing.
So, and a follow-up to you, because you mentioned the enrollment again, and that is something that was really striking to me when the trustees were talking about this, that we could be looking at, I'm always used to looking at the Yankee Conference, these schools up here that we used to be the Yankee Conference. We're talking about 14,000 students, undergraduates. Now, is it possible that UNH, we can be looking at less than 10,000 kids?
Is it possible?
Are we headed in that direction?
It's possible, I suppose. We're doing everything we can.
Where are we right now?
We're at 13,000.
13 and sliding?
I think total enrollment this year was down 3.5%. So what concerns me most is not necessarily about the university system. We have the oldest workforce in the country. What concerns me most is as this pipeline shrinks, what does that do to the New Hampshire Advantage and workforce and business attraction and the workforce our employers need in the next 6 to 10 years? So it's incumbent upon us, Frank, it's incumbent upon all of us to ensure that we have that pipeline for our employers, but yes, we will be smaller. There are fewer college-age students. We will be smaller. I feel like I say this when Chancellor Rubenstein and I are too. I still think that the opportunity, I haven't figured out how we're going to solve for this yet. The opportunity is those young people in middle school and high school where post-secondary opportunities beyond high school aren't even a twinkle in their eye. And I don't mean a 4-year degree. It could be a 4-year degree, a 2-year degree, a certificate. How do we get to those students who can then be a pipeline to the community college system and the university system and our employers? And the Chancellor and I have met with Commissioner Davis, and I'm also meeting with employers. I'm sure the Chancellor is as well. That there's opportunity there. I just don't know how to crack it yet because we have to get to those young people even before they're in high school.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know how quite to word this. I was at a advisory council meeting for career technical education several days ago. And we're learning, yes, it's partially legislative responsibility to fund it properly. We haven't. We're supposed to be funding on a tuition basis, 75% of the cost of tuition from the sending school to the receiving school. We're prorating it down to about 56%, which is horrible. But what's happening is that listening to the directors of CTEs, I'm starting to hear that maybe we should not be providing CTE type education to our 9th graders, which we have oftentimes advocated what you're saying now. We need to get the middle school kids involved. We've got to get folks that have that capacity and desire to enter this earlier on than waiting till their middle years or the 11th grade and 10th grade in high school. The same thing, I think, with what we're doing here, leading towards getting more of our, and capturing the crowd, which usually goes outside our state. What, 60% of our graduates go outside, and we need to capture more of that. But how do we do it? I think you're right, by involving what we're doing at the university level in some of those career pathways lower down in the grades. That means we got to train these principals and counselors, which was part of the task force report. Are we effective in doing that? I get the impression that there's some other causations which are stopping that from happening. Funding being one.
Funding, certainly. We just had 2 federal grants canceled on short notice. Those grants were operated out of UNH. And I think there were 1,200 or 1,400 middle school and high school students that were we worked directly with those students to show them pathways, not just to the university system, to any post-secondary opportunity. Those grants we just had to eliminate those positions. Those grants were canceled. I know Granite Advance is having some success in getting to the middle schools and high schools across the state. As our community college system admissions folks, university system admissions folks, but it's a tough nut to crack. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, you know, we didn't have another question.
No.
Okay. Representative Burton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We met with about 30 students, leadership students at UNH last week. And I asked how many were staying in New Hampshire, and it was pretty close to half, I think. But the others said it's too expensive. They need to move a place where they can make enough money. Housing is too expensive. And my thought was, it's going to take more than the university system to solve the dilemma. My last term, I was asked by the BIA to sponsor a bill, the 6525 bill, that 65% of the workforce would have an advanced degree by 2025. Well, it's 2025, and the number of students with an advanced degree beyond high school is around, I think it's around 58%. In Massachusetts, it's 80%. In Maine, it's a little higher than us. My point is, Madam Chair, that it's going to take a collaborative effort between the BIA and the universities and everyone else. And there's a revolution going on in higher ed. I read the higher ed press because that's what I used to do. And the practicalization of higher ed is underway. People need to see value. People need to see what the benefit is. And they have so many pathways they can go on now. I agree with Representative Ladd, making a decision too soon, we lose people. It's like the 11+ exam in England years ago. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Chancellor Rubinstein?
If I may respond to some of this discussion, I think an opportunity that we need to pay attention to has to do with early learning and students who, from the earliest assessment we do in second grade, finding we have significant proportion of students who are below grade level proficiency in reading and math, who lose ground every year and whose opportunities by the time they get to middle school are already somewhat constrained. I think that part of what Chancellor Provencher is describing is reaching those students in middle school will be helpful, but it'll be even more helpful if more of those students by the time they reach middle school are at or above grade level proficiency in those fundamental learning skills that allow them to get as much out of learning as they can K through 12, position them for the future. The opportunity for affordability, Representative Ladd touched on 3-year degrees. Significant part of our emphasis on early college, the opportunity for students to gain college level learning and credits while they're still in high school to address that affordability. done well, virtually every student completing high school in New Hampshire would be in a position that any bachelor's degree could be a 3-year degree based on what they've already acquired, what they can document through high school. And then long-term, to the question of whether or not our colleges, our enrollments will be smaller in the future, I've said before, I'll continue to say, I think higher education, post-secondary education is a growth industry. And the reason I say that is that I go back in the example of biofabrication, tissue foundries, the idea of 3D printing a pancreas was not on the radar when my guidance counselor was giving me direction. There are opportunities for occupations and employment that will exist tomorrow that we don't even know about today. At least some of us don't know what they are yet. But we've got to prepare students with a foundation of learning that they can reinvent themselves and respond to those opportunities over a 40-year, 50-year working life. That's our responsibility. So I expect that higher education, post-secondary education will grow, but it's not going to look like full-time undergraduate students between the ages of 18 and 22 who are on college campuses for that block of time. It's going to be working adults throughout their lifetimes who are coming back and cycling through educational opportunities, whether on campus or online, or in work settings where we deliver different kinds of program. So I think that, again, the foundation is ensuring that every student coming pre-K through 12 has the fundamental skills to be successful over the course of a learning life and a working life. And I think for our respective institutions, our systems, our responsibility is to reinvent ourselves to be prepared to deliver education in all of the formats for those kinds of students and the learning that they're going to need.
Senator Lang.
So sounds like Don's doing great work up in Plymouth, and you're very smart in moving him over to Keene too. And hopefully he'll continue that because he's taken into account. I mean, Rick, we talk, Representative Loud, on a regular basis that, demographics are roughly 1% of student population and we lost per year for the next 10 years, right? So we know that we're going to have a smaller student population going forward. And obviously your growth, Kathy, as you've said, is in the capturing of New Hampshire students not going out of state, but we have a smaller population, but we need to capture and keep them from going out of state. So in order to keep the university system vibrant and not shrink too much. So I do appreciate that you recognize that fact and that you're working towards those goals. I think that's an important long-term plan for the university system to keep an eye on. The fact that there is going to be a smaller pool of students, and the key is not to let them go out of state, right? To find out how do we make the community college system and the university system attractive to them versus leaving. And I think things like the 2+2 and a 2+1 idea and the dual concurrent enrollment, I mean, all of that as a package is really going to be attractive, provided we can execute so they can go for the first 2 years to the community college system and then go right to the university system in either 1 year or 2 years, graduate and not have to spend, right? That's going to be the cost-effective model that most New Hampshire parents are going to appreciate if we can execute it well. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Representative Ladd.
Last year, we passed a budget, biennium budget, and for the university system, the Senate upped the ante somewhat from what the House had sent. So we ended up with what, 87, 70, 77, 87, something like that million?
77 in 27 and 87 this year.
Yeah, and that. Now, you're living that daily.
Mhm.
What are some of the results of the shrinking dollar from, we've shrunk it down from what was it, 97 or so million? What are you having to do to deal with the lesser amount of money coming in? Have you had to deal with administrative losses or looking at that? Have you had to deal with negotiated agreements? Have you to look at capital costs and all that? Can you explain that a little bit, please?
Sure, and the quick answer is all of the above. And I'm increasingly concerned about fiscal 27 because we have another $10 million reduction in state support. So we have had to reduce staff through holding positions and layoffs. You may have seen some of that in the paper. We are reducing the number of faculty. There are some early buyouts offered to faculty. We are reducing the size of our footprint. Trying to think about best how to, do we sell space? Do we lease space out? Do we demolish space, right? Because as we shrink, our facilities are a costly part of our recurring cost, maintaining our buildings. Rethinking programs, President Burks is doing that. That's happening at Keene. It's happening across the enterprise. I will tell you that with every decision that's made, some will be happy and some will not be happy. So you may hear from some of your constituents about some of the decisions that are being made. But at every turn, we want to ensure that our student success and student outcomes are not negatively impacted. You know, I like to say to folks outside of this building and even my office, we're a small little system in a small state, and we punch above our weight. Our students have remarkable outcomes in relation to other publics across New England. We're an R1 with some pretty amazing research happening, you know, in Durham. So I'm increasingly concerned about fiscal 27. There's no doubt about that. And so we need to continue to make the difficult decisions. And frankly, some of it's leveraging AI and rethink the risk that we may have to take on as management, right? As the resources shrink from state support, because the market will not bear a tuition increase to cover the difference in the state support. And let's remember, almost all of the state support buys down in-state tuition. That's what the state support, that's why out-of-state tuition is double in-state tuition, because the state support covers that delta. But the market will not bear a tuition increase to cover that delta. So we are getting back to core mission and making decisions necessary to ensure that our student success is not negatively impacted. And it's really hard work.
Can I have one follow-up? What is the in-state tuition increase this year? What percentage?
2.5%
2.5%.
after 6 years of a freeze during a high inflationary period.
And we increase adequacy each year by 2%.
Senator Burton?
I can tell you the students we spoke to are terrified they're going to lose their majors. One student particularly had been told that their major was being discontinued. It was in environmental science, a small one. And the challenge, and I've been through this referred before, is that you'd like to do early retirements, for example, but they don't always fall in the programs where you'd like them to fall. You're up against, it's a really tough thing to do. But I guess it has to be done. I can tell you, when I was president up in Maine and the governor announced free tuition, our enrollment went up 15%. That'll never happen in New Hampshire, but it's happening in other states. UMaine now offers our in-state tuition to go to UMaine, the competition.
That's
think you
been
talked about that.
been for a number of years.
And,
UMaine offers that to all.
But I can remember UMaine, when I was in school there, they yanked my major out, which was geography, in my junior year. Disappeared just like that. I had a major in history then. So I lost the geography out of it. So I lost Western Illinois where, yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On that note, I've heard concern about not necessarily bachelor's degree programs being discontinued, but the master's degree program that a student would be interested in pursuing after the bachelor's degree being discontinued. Are you prioritizing in terms of how you navigate this most recent budget? Bachelor's degree over master's or master's over bachelor? Or how does that get determined in terms of how you manage it all?
Thank you for the question, Representative. It really comes to demand. If we have a program that has no students, demand will be part of that calculus. So, I mean, it really is what do the students need and want? What do our employers need and want? What is the, as Representative Ladd said earlier, what's the student to faculty ratio in a program versus another program? But that, you know, it really comes down to demand of for the program.
Was that, any other further questions?
What was
Yeah,
only
okay.
going to add in response to Representative Mooney's question, a couple of things that are happening at the federal level that will have bearing on graduate enrollment. One has to do with loan limits on graduate programs, which will affect the ability to pay and therefore the demand for those programs. Second has to do with international enrollment, which, depending on the program, many graduate programs have benefited from the appeal that they present to international students, and limits on those enrollments will make it more difficult for those programs to be viable.
Thank you very much. Do you have any last minute thing that we haven't asked you about that you'd like for us to know?
We're very proud of the work we do in public higher education for the Granite State.
Thank you.
Grateful to this committee's interest, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Appleby, I see you sitting over there. Do you have anything that you want to add or? No, no? Okay, good. Good. One more question from you?
The students that we met with loved UNH, okay? They came from all around New England, New York, Connecticut, and a lot from New Hampshire. They loved the experience. They're not sorry they went there, and they hope that we can pull this off and keep it the way it is.
Thank you. Okay, then I guess in order to continue this conversation, we have to look to find out what other stakeholders would we like to have at some future meetings. Any suggestions from anyone? Do you
Madam
have
Chair,
any suggestions?
I can kick that off.
Sure.
Just this morning, I attended an accreditation meeting. I'm on the board of a small private college in New Hampshire. And we had our exit interview. The accreditors from Nietzsche have been there all week. And it was mentioned that the standards were getting very close to changing. In fact, this accreditation that was being performed this week is one of the last to use the standards that Nietzsche's currently using. So perhaps going forward, we could dive a little deeper into the new standards that Nietzsche's going to go by and see how or they make New Hampshire college life's accreditation process better or worse, or at a standstill the same.
Okay. Now you have some suggestions for who that might be, in which case you can just send it and let me know.
I'd have to think about that, but yes, I can think about it.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
and we could probably help facilitate that if that would be if that's helpful. I'm sure the Chancellor and I both have contacts at Nietzsche, if that, again, if that's helpful. The other item we talked about when the committee last met was any interest that the committee might have in the good work happening Regen Valley down in Manchester. There's collaboration between, well, a number of institutions of higher learning in our state, public and private, as well as Army and So that's another possibility if you'd want us to think about the
Okay.
really collaborative common campus work that's happening in Manchester. And again, I would throw another one out. If you're interested in collaboration and impact that the two systems is having on the state, the Rural Health Transformation Initiative, I think I have all those terms correct. Both systems were involved with the New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services in preparing an application to the federal government to impact rural health workforce in the future. And so far, both systems are still in the pipeline to support that work. This would probably be something you might want to hear about maybe in the spring. But that could also be an example of impactful work that public higher education is working on together to benefit the citizens of the Granite State.
Okay, good suggestions. Mr. Appleby?
Thank you. For the record, Steve Appleby, Director, Department of Education. For a future agenda, it might be worth, I'm not sure what this would look like, but Senator Lang this morning attended the Lakes Region Superintendent Regional Monthly Meeting with several other legislators. And I can tell you, I think it was very well received. I think it was a great meeting. But one of the things that we've advocated at the department for a while now is better integration and discussions between K-12 and higher ed. And I think we saw that today. President Kate attended that meeting as well from Lakes Region Community College. And as he does, he tends to attend those meetings. So I wonder if a more deliberate focus on our public colleges coming to the monthly regional superintendent meetings is worth a further discussion. As far as who to invite, that's a really good question. I'll have to get back to you on that. But I thought having legislators there was great, but I also thought having higher ed in the room with superintendents, it's one ecosystem, but yet we tend to be siloed. So, any way that we can keep the 60% of kids from going out of state, I think that would go a long way towards plugging the gap in enrollment decline. So,
Good.
thank you.
Sounds like good suggestions. We're looking for future stakeholders might want to come and make a presentation on public higher education.
I agree with Steve. The meeting we attended this morning with the Lakes Region superintendents and principals was phenomenal. A good cross conversation. I think having that same thing happen between the community college system and the university system present in the room to talk about maybe some more about dual and concurrent and some of the application processes of making sure that it's not just the guidance counselors getting a circular about what's going on, but an actual in-room presentation of we're here to help. We want to make your students successful kind of thing is going to be, I think it'll be well received because even our legislative thing we did today with them over legislation was well received and a good conversation starter. So I don't know that's necessarily they come to this meeting, but as much as we could invite somebody from like the New Hampshire Superintendents Association to the meeting to have a discussion about higher education, school systems, school boards.
Yeah.
The Hampshire School Board Association, same thing. We could potentially bring them in to have a discussion and just expand the conversation.
Yep. Well, there are some good suggestions for our future meetings. Is there anything else that we need to talk about today? Anybody has a burning? Representative Burton has a burning issue.
Just a quick comment on the senator's comment on accreditation. President Trump issued an executive order slamming higher education, and many of the presidents didn't sign on to that. So then he went after the accreditation agencies, and he wanted to change. He said some terrible things about accreditation. The accreditation system, the peer-reviewed system we have in this country is the best in the world now. And they're trying to tear that down to make it more ideological, quite honestly, than it is now. And it is terrifying to those of us who have worked in this arena, seeing peer-reviewed accreditation keep our institutions strong. And I hope that doesn't go down too, because quality will suffer.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? So that Representative Lyon?
We have a real huge issue within public education, K through 12, with the number of SAUs we have in the state, 109 of them, that we don't have the number of superintendents which are qualified to handle the duties and responsibilities of being a superintendent. Now, when we look at the higher education in terms of whether you're going to get a certificate of advanced study or you're going to come out with a doctorate in school administration, finance, I would like to hear from our graduate schools, what kind of requirements are they inserting as guiding us in terms of, or guiding them and saying, these are some things which superintendents must have under their belt. An understanding of educational policy, an understanding of educational finances, an understanding of education law. We have a number of situations going on throughout the state where we are finding it very difficult to find somebody that has the skill and knowledge and the disposition to do the job of the superintendent. And I think that's where we're falling down on that area. I'm not going after any particular district or SAU, but when I was in the military, it was all about leadership. It was all about coming down from leadership and so that everybody did their jobs so that, somebody that was a corporal wasn't ending up doing somebody else's job and nobody was doing his or her job. So I'm concerned. I'd like to hear, what are the emphasis? What driving points do we have as a requirement to be a superintendent of state? Graduate schools are setting that up in conjunction with you, Mr. Appleby. But there are a number of efforts out there right now we should be cognizant of. You've seen some legislation put forward to cut the number of SAUs in this district down to 1 per county. And that has ramifications in terms of everything we do in education and leadership. So I'd like to start whittling into this, because it's higher education that gives this the degree to do this, whether it's advanced study, certificate of advanced study, or the PhD. I don't know what you require. I know what you did in Maine. I was over there, but I don't know what you're doing right here now in terms of that, Mr. Appleby. But in the graduate schools, the graduate education schools are the ones that have that responsibility.
Okay.
So I'd like to hear from them.
Sounds like an interesting topic. Any other suggestions?
Yes, related to that, and that's a great conversation to have. And I think as part of that conversation, we need to have someone who's familiar with administrative rules be part of it. There are very strict New Hampshire Department of Education administrative rules revolving around qualifications to be principals and superintendents. My personal belief, they are far too narrow. So I think that we need to really dive very deeply into that starting point to get to your point, and that is an essential piece of your conversation.
I think we do have some real holes, and especially in school finance and school law. And that is a driving force of how we conduct ourselves in public education. And if we don't have it right in the top, we're not going to have it down throughout.
I think we have something to go on for at least a year on the topics that have been suggested. So get hold of some of these things and take them for our next meeting. Do I have to set a meeting, set a date for the next meeting, or should we just do a doodle poll? It said set next meeting date.
Oh, second next meeting day. How about December 25th?
At your house?
You don't want to come there.
How about if we just send out a reminder and then ask what the best thing to do for everybody?
That seems to work out really well when you send out dates and
Right.
real well.
Who is available, and if you're going to be at Granite Place, we have to remember to maybe meet a half an hour later, 15 minutes later.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that that's going on over there. Been there once and I was surprised. It's not close to here.
And the hard part is you get back over here and you're trying to find a parking spot out there. And
Yeah.
I know everybody else is trying to find parking spots. You can't find them. Then you park in one, they come running up to you. Well, that's where some senator's supposed to park.
Oh, that's
I
terrible.
said, sorry.
Okay, if there are no more business, then I think I will ask for an adjournment.
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. We'll see you in a couple of months.